Hey everybody, happy Monday. My name is Wes Hagen. I'm the vineyard manager and winemaker here at Club Pepe Vineyards and Club Pepe Estate Wines. It's the 29th of July 2013 and today we're going to talk about influence. So last week I got some really great news that Michael Servin, who's a great wine writer, writes for Decanter, Sommelier Journal, Wine and Spirits, Wine Enthusiast, on his blog on the website intowine.com. He declared for some odd reason that I was the 68th most influential winemaker in the United States. This is sort of the first time I've been a part of one of these like top 100 lists, and it got me kind of thinking about influence, who I am, where my career is going, and what I sort of believe in. So today we're going to go a little off my normal sort of off-the-cuff remarks, and I've made a couple notes today. And I'm going to go through 6 quick things that I think will define what my influence is in this industry. So if I do have influence, I think it's probably about time that I define that influence. So if I have influence on people, I know how I'm influencing them. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the things that I believe in wine, and if I have a legacy, this is what I'd hope it to be. Number one, I want to protect the historic and legal boundaries of the Sta Rita Hills. There is a challenge to the boundaries of the Sta Rita Hills going on right now. And without getting too far into it, I believe that pushing the boundary and the northeast boundary of the Sta Rita Hills out of its historic boundary, out of the sort of land mass that defines the east-west transverse valleys, is a bad idea. And I think that including the Buellton Flats is not a good idea for the integrity and the quality of Sta Rita Hills wines. In fact, in the preamble of the original Sta Rita Hills application that I wrote and helped research, we actually said that the Sta Rita Hills is the natural east-west boundaries that lie west of the Buellton Flats. So that's the first thing. I want to protect the Sta Rita Hills. There's 82 lot lines that are influenced by the Sta Rita Hills, and if the boundaries were changed legally, I'm afraid that every time one of those properties would sell, people would try to continue to expand the Sta Rita Hills. You got to have the guts and the balls to say, this is where the line is, this is where we're going to define the Sta Rita Hills, and we've already done that. So that's the first thing. Second of all, I want to promote Santa Barbara County. I want to influence the hospitality industry up here so we can start kicking Paso's ass. A lot of people are spending 2 extra hours driving from LA to drive to a place that is 20 degrees hotter during the summer, and the wines tend to be very sort of, blousy, big, and ripe. As far as the quality and the diversity of Santa Barbara County wines, I think we've got everything that Paso has and more, and we're closer, and during the summer, come out to Lompoc in the Sta Rita Hills where it's 70 degrees as opposed to 105 out in Paso. So I want to get hospitality up to snuff. I want to encourage more restaurants and great hotels to come into Santa Barbara County. So when Los Angeles and Southern California considers where they want to go to taste wine and hang out, they think of Santa Barbara County first. And I think with Morgan McLaughlin now working for the Santa Barbara County Vintners, I think we got a really good, and we got the Wine Bloggers Conference coming next year in 2014. 10th anniversary of Sideways, whatever that means. I think we have a great opportunity in the next 10 years to put Santa Barbara County wine and Santa Barbara County hospitality on the map as the greatest place in California to come and visit if you're interested in the authenticity, the flavors, the diversity, and wines that are really, really balanced and beautiful. So that's number 2. Number 3, I want to encourage Americans to celebrate all styles of wine. I used to be sort of a champion of natural wine, a champion of wines that are more elegant and restrained. And since I read that 60% of American wine is actually consumed without food, it's totally revolutionized the way that I look at wine. So wine can be a cocktail, wine can be a food, for food. Wine can kind of do just about anything. So I don't think there's one use for wine, and I don't think a European style or a California style or a Robert Parker style. Yes, yes, yes. There's a great quote. I've been trying to find who wrote it. I thought it was Bertrand Russell who said, nature says no, wine says yes. So let's stop fighting about whether 13.5, 14.5, 15.5 represent a popular style of wine. If wines get too rich and too ripe, and you really can't drink them without, just tasting alcohol, I think there's a problem. But as far as diversity goes, there's a time for a big Paso Zin. There's a time for a big Napa Cab. But when I'm eating food or looking at a region, I want the wines to be restrained and elegant enough that I can taste the place, but that's for table. And when we get into the cocktail style, I think big rich wines are fine. So I think we need to sort of celebrate all styles of wine from all over the United States, and I'll talk about that in a sec. The next thing is massal selection. I want to influence American wine growers to stop thinking about replanting clones. I want us to start allowing the clones in our vineyard to really start adapting to their local environments. Obviously, the genetic mutations are going to be random, but as human beings, we need to start looking at our farms and keeping the random mutations in our vineyards that continue to allow our grapes to evolve into new styles, into new varietals. So one thing I want to do is I'd love in the next 300 years to see Cabernet Sauvignon, Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Noir, Chardonnay have less influence, and the grapes that evolve on our soils in our climates from those grapes to start taking a more important role. So let's kind of stop thinking about legitimizing American wine by planting French and Italian clones and start thinking about allowing our grapes to adapt so we can actually develop our own vinifera varietals, so we can really start talking about the relationship of the place and the grapes. I don't think you can talk about terroir in the concept of taking a grape from France, stealing it, and then putting it on alien soil. So let's get over clones, let's start thinking about massal selection, and let's start thinking about allowing our vineyards to adapt and to mutate and to evolve from planting to planting to planting. That's the next thing. Number 5, wine education and analog wine. I really think that wine education needs to focus on fun. Wine education needs to focus on learning all about the history of wine. I find books like Dr. Patrick McGovern's Ancient Wine or Uncorking the Past, wine books or books on alcohol like The History of the World in 6 Glasses. These are fascinating histories of where wine has been and how human beings have lived and adapted on this planet, sort of under the influence of wine and alcohol. I think it's just a brilliant idea to understand where we've been in alcohol, where we're going in alcohol. And the more I read about alcohol, the more I read about wine, the more excited I am each night to open up something new and travel the world in a glass and continue that sort of history of liquid humanism that wine represents. I love how wine has influenced human culture, and I want there to be a profound influence moving forward in how wine can save the world. Obviously, I think a lot of religious and political strife could all be solved with getting people in a room, being reasonable, having a few drinks, and relaxing and talking about these things in a way that's not too sober and too serious. So obviously analog wine is my idea that sometimes we need to encourage wine, get wine culture flowing with the internet and our phones, but sometimes when we drink wine, it should be an analog experience. In other words, turn off your computer, turn off your phone, put it away, and let wine guide us to that sort of ancient art of conversation, making direct eye contact and feeling the presence of human beings in the room without having to use screens back and forth. So I think wine should take us back to an analog culture. Wine should take us back to that Paleolithic moment around the fire where we're eating the things we collected, we're drinking the things we fermented, and having that profound moment of humanity. So that's what I mean by analog wine and wine education. And the last one I have for you is be a wine patriot. We live in the United States, and there's wine being produced in so many states right now. We really need to start drinking, like I've been saying again, the pink Catawba from Florida. We need to start drinking Norton from Missouri. The beautiful white wines that are coming out of the Finger Lakes in New York. The gorgeous, gorgeous wines coming out of Washington State. The stunning whites from the Columbia River Gorge. All of these things, Napa Sonoma is just the beginning. Santa Barbara County is just a footnote. America is a huge country that has such an amazing diversity of wine culture that we need to start really engaging as Americans and not ignoring the West Coast, but using the West Coast as just one part of the amazing sort of quilt that is United States wine culture. So get out there, try some wines you haven't tried, try some varietals you haven't tried, and really understand that this is really where we're going in American wine culture, to understand the United States in the same way that the French understand French. How can you find an American wine in France? You can't, because the French wine culture supports its own ideas and its own borders. So we need to start thinking maybe about drinking less European wine. I mean, continuing to drink wines from all over the world is great. I think that's important. But maybe for 1 year of our life, we should just say, you know what, I'm going to learn American wine this year. I'm going to put away European wine, and I'm just going to understand American wine. So that's sort of my idea right now. I hope you learned something today. I hope I didn't go on too long. My name is Wes Hagen. Come visit us at Clos Pepe. Talk to you soon. Bye.